Carnivals are like magnets for the morbidly curious. People come for the rides, the games, but let's be honest, they also come for the chance to be scared, to brush up against something dark. I used to be like that. I thought I was above all the ghost stories, the urban legends. But then I started working here, and it didn't take long for the whispers to catch up with me. It was October, and the carnival was gearing up for Halloween. The Ferris wheel had its share of stories, tales of accidents, strange sightings. They said a little boy had fallen from it years ago. I figured it was just talk, something to sell more tickets. Turns out, I was dead wrong. I remember that night like it just happened. I was the last one there, making sure everything was locked down. The fairgrounds were silent, except for the faint creak of the Ferris wheel. I just finished my rounds when I heard it, a whisper. I turned, expecting to see one of the other workers, but there was no one. The air felt thick, like something was pressing down on me. Then I saw him, a little boy, sitting at the top of the Ferris wheel, staring down at me with hollow eyes. His clothes were torn, soaked in blood. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't look away. I blinked and he was gone. I tried to shake it off, but then the wheel started moving, slow at first, then faster. I ran to the control panel, but the buttons were dead, unresponsive. The wheel creaked and groaned, the seats swinging wildly as it picked up speed. I felt a cold wind rush past me, like someone had just walked by. Then, out of nowhere, the engine burst into flames. The fire climbed up the wheel, licking at the seats. I could hear screaming, but the fairground was empty. I was alone. When they finally got the fire under control, they found a pair of tiny shoes jammed into the engine, blackened and charred. They told me to keep quiet, said it was just a mechanical issue, but I knew better. The Ferris wheel was cursed, and the owners knew it. They played it up, leaned into the stories to draw in the crowds. They didn't care who got hurt, as long as people paid. And you know what? That ride is still out there, traveling from town to town. Maybe it's waiting for you. Maybe it's waiting for me. I used to love carnivals, the clowns especially. I know a lot of people find them creepy, but there was something about the painted faces, the silly costumes, that always made me laugh. But that was before I met him. I was just a kid, maybe 10 or 11, and I saw this clown standing near the funhouse. He wasn't like the others. His smile was too wide, his eyes too dark. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching me. I tried to tell my mom, but she didn't see him. He was gone before she could turn around. I saw him again a few years later at another carnival. He looked exactly the same, like he hadn't aged a day. I thought it was weird, but I brushed it off. Then, one night, I saw him again. Only this time, he wasn't alone. He was holding a little boy's hand, leading him away from the crowd. The boy looked back at me, his eyes wide with fear, and then they were gone. I tried to tell the police, but they didn't believe me. They said I was imagining things, that it was just part of the show. But I knew better. That clown was something else, something dark. I started to research, trying to find out who he was, but there was nothing. Just rumors, stories about kids disappearing, about clowns who weren't part of the carnival. I found an article about a clown who had worked at the carnival decades ago, a man who went missing under mysterious circumstances. They say he haunts the fairgrounds, that he's looking for something or someone. And I think deep down, we're all a little bit drawn to that darkness, to that fear. That's why we go to carnivals, why we pay to be scared. But sometimes you get more than you bargained for. Some people are scared of clowns, others of Ferris wheels. But for me, it's the House of Mirrors. We were just a group of friends looking for a cheap thrill. The carnival was closing down, and we had the place to ourselves. We decided to check out the House of Mirrors, thinking it would be a quick scare, something to make us laugh. But from the moment we stepped inside, I knew something was off. The mirrors were too close, the reflections too distorted. I felt like I was being watched. We wandered through the maze, our reflections warping and twisting with every step. I looked back, and Tom was right behind me, or at least I thought he was. But when I turned the corner, he was gone. We called his name, but there was no answer, just silence, thick and heavy, like the mirrors were absorbing the sound. I saw his face, just for a second, in one of the mirrors. He looked scared, like he was trapped. I reached out, but my hand went right through. It was like he was on the other side, in a place I couldn't reach. We ran to get help, but the carnival workers brushed us off. They said the House of Mirrors had been shut down for years, that it was just a ride. But I knew better. I'd seen him, trapped in that twisted maze, his face pressed against the glass, begging to be let out. They closed the carnival after that, said it was just a precaution, but sometimes, late at night, I still see his face in my reflection, like he's still there, waiting for someone to set him free. People ask me why I don't go to carnivals anymore, and I tell them it's because I know what's really out there. But I think, deep down, we're all drawn to that darkness, that fear. We want to be scared, to brush up against the unknown, but sometimes it brushes back. And when it does, you might not come back the same. We love to be scared, to push the boundaries of what we can handle. But sometimes the things that scare us are more real than we'd like to believe. If you've made it this far, hit like, subscribe, and join us next time on Holy Fucking Horror, because sometimes the scariest places are the ones we think are safe. Stay haunted, and remember, the carnival may leave town, but the shadows it brings never truly go away.